You must have been hungry while you were sleeping. I like it. Okay. So today you have an English science reading comprehension assignment about what makes bread rise. And you get to learn is pretty interesting. And then we are doing our plant investigation today. Oh no. Okay. I missed something from earlier, but all right, so hopefully you brought your plants and you thought about from yesterday. You were supposed to have done your science lesson yesterday where you clicked and looked at either the sealed jar investigation or the light collectors, and you decided which one you were interested in. So those of you who actually did your job yesterday and you looked at both of them to decide which one you were more interested in pursuing, what are we trying to find out with the sealed jar? What do you think? What are we trying to find out with the sealed jar investigation? Is the empty noise space that nobody did their work yesterday, or what? I highly doubt that's true. I'm sure that plenty of you didn't do it like you were supposed to, because we are seeing a decline in work completion. But I know that that's not true for the entire class. Do plants need sun? Well, we're talking about the sealed jar one. The sealed jar is not about light. Thank you, Isabel. Do plants need air? Right, so we would have the plants, one of our two plants that we planted has access to air, and the other one is sealed off and does not have access to new air, right? And then what is it that we are trying to find out with the light collector? Right, do they need sunlight or not? Thank you again, Isabel. Okay. Now the good news is, if you do not have a plant, you either didn't do your job and pick up your materials at some point in time, or maybe you had the unfortunate event that your plant didn't grow. You tried to plant it and have it grow, but it didn't work. And sometimes some seeds are duds. That's why I gave you multiple, like, I'm trying to remember how many, but roughly 5 to 8 seeds. But sometimes those things happen, and if we were in person, we could make easier adjustments. Some of you did pick up extra seeds, but things don't always work out. So if you don't have plants to do this investigation with, the good news is you'll be able to do a gizmo called growing plants, okay? So I will give you some of that shortly here. Okay. So we talked about that. Okay, so basically now I'm going to show you one more time, not one more time. I'm going to show you, some of you might know, some of you don't know. I know that small group learned yesterday, if I haven't shown you before, which I don't think I have. But to search for your investigation, because you should have created a copy yesterday of either the sealed jar or the light collectors. And I'm just going to put it out there and, be honest with you guys. I've been excited about this plant investigation, but it's gone very different in class than it is with virtual. Technically, you could have done the sealed jar or the light collector or created your own investigation. And for whatever reason, all of those choices are easier, I feel like, to manage in person. And I was trying to do a really nice, thorough job with this lesson, but I just kept running into roadblocks. So like, if you've seen this pop up quite a few times yesterday, I tried to delete it quickly because I'm like, oh no, I missed this part. And then I missed this part. And technically, the investigation right now does not have the free choice one where you could come up with your own investigation. It is, however, in your journal. So you were supposed to either choose sealed jar or light collectors. But if you were to go into your journal right now and you went to page 24, this is where you could decide what you wanted to investigate with your plant and what you already know and what materials you might use. And then drawing your investigation and setting up a chart to record your data. We've actually had a wide variety of plant investigations. Some people did the light and dark, but instead of putting tinfoil on the leaves, they put one plant, out in the sun or like inside near a window, and they put the other one in a dark cupboard. I've had students do positive and negative talk with their plants. One plant got only positive talk every single day, and the other plant got only negative talk, or upbeat positive music versus sad or angry music. I've had people see if you could water your plants with pop or soap or different things like that. Do they still grow? What do they need? So technically, if you were really like itching to find something else out about plants and you'd been thinking about something, you could go to page 26 in your journal. I do let me know in classroom on today's assignment though. Like, for example, I can't even believe I'm opening that option up, but I want you to have choice. I think choice is so important in your learning. But you know how you can comment to me on an assignment, right? You could ask questions or this or that. So on today's science assignment, 4C-1, you could say, I'm doing my own investigation. It's in the journal. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to use the light collectors or the sealed jar. If you have already chosen and you have plans to use for your investigation, you're going to get started right now. Okay. If you don't have a plant or don't have two plants, because you really need to do two, right? You need one that's controlled with, like if you're doing light, one plant that's getting sunlight and then one plant that's not. You really can't do this without two plants easily. You could still try to run an experiment on one, but you won't have the second one to compare to. Now, if your family has seeds and stuff, you could have always planted more seeds. But I can't always guarantee that that's, something that you have access to, which is why I provided you with seeds. But if you don't have any plants, I wish I would have added this sooner. How will I even know? I'm going to add the growing plants gizmo. So you're either going to be setting up your investigation, showing me that you're putting the tinfoil on the leaves of the plants, or finding a way to seal off a plant, or you're going to be doing the gizmo. So you can go ahead and get started right after I answer Madison's question.
Can we use like different plants? Like I have other plants here, but I don't have my like bean plant.
That would be up to the homeowners and if they're okay with you using the plants for the investigation. Because there is a chance that with what you're doing, that one of your two plants could die or could be in distress, maybe not fully die, but start to get sick, if you will, and not be a healthy plant. So you would want to ask permission, but I would say,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom won't care if I use one of the plants.
yeah, if you have access to other plants, yes, that would be fine. All right, in about less than a minute, if you don't have plants, they didn't grow or whatever, the gizmos will be posted on Google Classroom so that you can do the simulation. Okay, to make this easier on the people doing the investigation, could you please put in the chat only if your plants died and you need to use the simulation? That way I will make sure that technically the assignment is showing to everybody right now, but those of you who are doing the light collectors or sealed jar or your own plant investigation, you don't have to do this simulation. So I was going to take your names off of it. All right, thank you for that. It should be loaded in there now, and in capital letters it says after 4C-1 plant simulation. Okay, please ask questions if you have any. Since there's so many of you doing the plant simulations, let me do a quick screen share while the other people are working on theirs. Oh, I forgot to show you the last piece. I'm sorry. Everybody pause what you're doing. Look at my presenting screen, not my camera. So if you want to find an old assignment without looking through Classroom, you have to know the title of the assignment though. You would go to your drive, and there's a search bar up here. So let's say yesterday you made a copy of light collectors, and you want to know where that's at. You type in light collectors. A list of the assignments will open. Okay. Which is a little bit scary to me that Logan says the only one that pops up. If you chose sealed jar. And so that tells me that Logan and Noel have made some choices. But since I see no other names, and there are many students in this class, some of you did not do your job yesterday. If your plant died and you're not using one of those, then you don't need to have one open. So you're fine. But let's say you wanted to find an old writing prompt. You type that in and your writing prompts will show up. Okay, I have access to everybody's, so I see lots and lots of names, but you can search for old assignments even though you're not in Classroom, you're in the drive. But they're connected, and all of your classroom work that is in Slides or Docs or Kami is saved into your drive, so you can technically find it. You just might have to do some searching. All right, again though, please ask questions if you have them. Be thorough. Some of you tend to like only do one page of the gizmo and you're like, oh, I'm done. Well, when there's more than one page, you have to complete them all for the full credit. Uh-oh, okay. I gotta turn the plant thingy on, sorry. And move it up.
It just showed up and it's like at the bottom of the gizmos.
Yeah, I have to drag it to where I want it to be. So remember, you're probably going to do a split screen. You're going to have your PDF up, your Kami document, and then the simulation as well. Okay. Sometimes you actually have to read, look at the tools, read what to do, follow the instructions. Yes, Parker?
Is the growing plants gizmo what we're supposed to be on?
If you don't have plants to do the investigation,
Yeah, I don't have any.
yes.
They're all dead. So is that what I'm supposed to be on if I don't have any?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ooh, hey, before people log off, which you should not be logging off, but let me take attendance. I know one person, 2 people already have, and they should not have. Let me see your ungrowing phase while we wait for, oh, there we go, Ryder and Madison. I'm sprouting like a plant in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Mrs. Davis, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you change the light of like when like you press play? Can you like change the light of the lamp?
You turn the lights off by clicking on the bulbs.
Oh, okay.
So you could have 1 on, 2 on, 3 on, none of them on. Let me look at. So when you have your tallest plant, it's asking what conditions led to the tallest plant. So like this first time that I did 1 light on, 2 lights on, 3 lights on, and everything else was the same for me. So whatever my tallest plant was, I would say the conditions were that it had full light, right? Or technically, my plant B that only had 2 lights on was like 1/10 taller, but the mass of plant C was more. So you're just trying to look at what did I change? For example, I was going to do another investigation right now where all the lights are on and the same, and they all have the same amount of fertilizer and compost, but I'm going to change the daily amount of water. So you have to keep, in order for this to work out well, you need to try and keep all of the same things with all 3 plants and change one thing in order to find out what's going on. Did that answer your question? Just like your tallest plant out of the 3, not all together. Okay. What was I gonna? Oh, let me go back to the lesson. I wanted to ask. Okay. Sealed jar and light collectors aside. So let's go. I just love it when people are rude. What are some observations you've made so far? Um, what um, what have you learned in your gizmo? For those of you who are doing the gizmo, what conditions made for the best plant growth? Bentley?
One of the conditions that you need for the you wouldn't need it if you you need light, but you also don't need light. It's sort of complicated because like you can plant a plant without light, but you also need a source like a bean, a turnip, or a tomato. And compost and fertilizer helps it grow.
Okay, good. Alex?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So like if you want it to grow like super big, you're going to need to put fertilizer and compost on it. And I just used that on like the bean. I tried it with the tomato. It doesn't really work. And yeah, you just want to like do that, and you also want to give it like an average amount of water, because I had one that had 100 milliliters of water and it was like super tiny, and then I had one that was 30 and it was also super tiny.
Okay, good. Parker?
When I was testing it, I saw that fertilizer and the compost were nearly the same. They helped the plant nearly equal, but fertilizer was a bit better.
Okay. Lanaya?
What was the question again?
What have you, what conditions made for the best plant growth? What have you noticed?
What best conditions were when I tried all three of my plants, I turned off like all the lights on one, left one light on, and then two lights on. And the plant that grew the tallest was the one with the two lights. And there was fertilizer and one bean seed, and it grew the tallest.
Grew the tallest. Okay, good. Parker, is your hand up again?
Oops, I forgot to put my hand down.
That's okay. Bentley, is your hand up again? Okay, cool. Right here, I have 100 milliliters of water. I have just soil and bean. I have soil and fertilizer and bean. And I have soil and compost and bean. What was I investigating this time? And 3 lights on for all. What was the purpose of this round for me? Bentley?
If even if it needed fertilizer or compost, could it still grow?
Okay, any other guesses? If I did soil in one, soil and fertilizer in a different one, and soil and compost in a third one, what was my purpose? What was I trying to find out?
You were probably trying to see what makes it grow the best out of fertilizer and compost and stuff like that.
Yep. Now, I wish that I had a fourth plant, so I know what the soil only one, excuse me, excuse me, came out to be. So I'm going to leave the soil and fertilizer and the soil and compost, but then I'm going to put one with all three. It's technically for this one, I would probably want 4 plants. Soil only, soil and fertilizer, soil and compost, and soil, fertilizer, and compost to see which combination grew the best plant. And as I suspected, my hypothesis was that it was going to be if I had a little bit of all of them, which is true because the soil only was a mass of 6.6, and we have a mass of 7.5 when I have all three. It also would be interesting to see now if the water affects it, right? So I leave those same conditions and I change the amount of water, but I still need it to be the same amount across. And I can tell you, having attempted to force a green thumb, that they say green thumb when you're good at plants. You can definitely overwater or underwater. Plants are very complex. As you've learned, they live in different climates, right? Like Alex said, he had a desert plant and a rainforest plant. One gets a lot of water, one gets hardly any. Some grow really well with only a little water because that is the adaptation that plant has developed over time. And that's how it knows to survive. And then some of you already said you overwatered your plants and you could tell that that's why they died, or that they didn't get watered. So there's definitely a balance. Interesting that the soil and fertilizer has a larger mass this time with less water. Okay, make sure that you finish up all 4 pages. If you get done and you feel like it, you can just explore and just try different things that have nothing to do with the Gizmo PDF. And I will let you guys log off a little early, but I expect to see all 4 pages of this filled out. Can you do that? All right, cool beans. Enjoy your last 80-degree weather day for the next week or so, because it's still going to be reasonably nice out, but the temperature is going to drop some. Okay. All right, have a fabulous Tuesday. See you tomorrow. 8 a.m.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Adios, Lanaya.